Hey, James. Look at everybody piling in. Last meeting of the year. Woo. Hey, Janice.
Woo.
Hey, John Healy.
Hey there.
Hey, David. As kind of people come in, you got to check this out. So this morning, I got a glass of juice, and you're in the tropics when you're drinking out of your juice, and this lands on your
Oh man,
on your cup. So
You are so brave.
yeah.
Look how prehistoric. The coolest thing to me is like look at the kind of defense mechanism by having these like little eyes in the back of their body, right?
Like a B-2 stealth bomber.
Look at that.
Exactly, John Healy. That's what it is.
A little view this way.
Respect. Wow. That sip could have gone sideways so quickly.
Right. So anyway, yeah. Hey Barry.
Hey John.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. Almost the end of the week.
Yeah, good. Hey, Barry and I had a good, super good conversation the other day. We did a podcast together, so that'll be out in a couple weeks, and psyched for you guys to listen to it. I thought it was really, really fun, just because you guys have so much, longitudinal experience with outsourcing and how to recontextualize the kind of open talent stuff.
Yeah, cool. I was on a panel this morning, John, for the Global Sourcing Association, talking about the future of outsourcing predictions for next year. And you can imagine open talent, open innovation gig was one of the big themes for how outsourcing will be disrupted.
Oh, interesting. That's great. Well, keep us informed with that. That's great. That's great.
John, what's up, man? Are you on Hawaii?
No, I'm in Mexico. I've been here for like 6 weeks now. So I'm heading back this week. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's been a really good trip. And,
good for you, man.
Yeah.
I've missed a ton of these. Like the world has just conspired against me. I'm so glad I could make the last one.
I'm glad you're back. Good to see so many faces. Chris Nealon, see you in their sweatshirt. It's been a while since we've talked. Good to see you. Brian Pena and James and Laura. Laura, nice to see you. It seems like it's been for a while. Well, hey, it looks like a fair amount of folks on. Should we jump to our little breakout?
Do it.
Let's do it. Ray, nice head. I like that. That's awesome.
All right, I got a few more people coming in here.
Dude, Wyatt, what happened to your beard, dude? You're clean faced.
It is no more.
Wow.
Yeah, still got all my hair though.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't.
Jealous.
Yeah, I am too. Wish I had some hair.
John, you wanted to
I'm gonna have to go around.
we're gonna do a larger breakout rooms this time, and maybe extend it a few more minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe 3 to 4 in the breakout room. Just thought we'd try something new, and now that the group knows each other pretty well. So anyway, let's see how it goes.
Our prompt today is let your group know what you're grateful for.
Yeah. Good time.
As we wrap up the year.
Oh. Awesome. Hey, well, listen, for me, the theme today is gratefulness. And I think, I'm certainly super grateful for everything here. One of the things I said on our little call was like, man, I think this thing started in April, but what a ride it's been. I felt like it was really great to kind of take the foot off the pedal of trying to, create revenue and monetize things and really focus on the community. And what an amazing community we've ended up in together. So, I'm super thankful for you guys, and just want to call out a few people that I think are doing some super cool stuff. First, Jerry Wind, who's on the call. Jerry, you've got this new book out, and really, really stoked about that. And I think it's really good. Transition in Time of Crisis, right? Is that the name of the book?
Transformation in Time of Crisis, yeah.
Sorry, Transformation.
Close enough.
Yeah, and when does that come out?
It came out about 10 days ago.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow, that's a big one. Look at that.
John is featured there, and we have a section on open innovation and open talent.
That's awesome. So make sure. Yeah, let's make sure we'll get the link to the Amazon link into the into the chat so everybody can take a look at it. But Jerry's he's been an inspiration. We've worked together a bunch. He's been one of my mentors, and really, just always inspired by him and his thinking. And the ability to kind of see the future and get there. I guess, hey, Son, you got something to share?
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, everyone. I just want to do a 2-minute plug just as we go into holidays. I mean, I came into this community, very much not so much from an open talent marketplace perspective, but just from a believer in the power of ground up and in the power of every one of us to innovate and to have ideas and to use the resources around us. And oh, David Cameron has joined the call.
I know, right?
Fuck me, sideways. That's a new one. Hey, David. Yeah, so I just want to do a quick plug because we've been working with the UN and Hyundai over the last couple of years, and we launched at the UN Assembly this last September a platform that's really focused on telling the stories of people all around the world. I was just telling on the breakout, this guy in Quintaroo, John, on the other coast of where you are now, who figured out how to turn that invasive seaweed that's kind of the scourge of the Caribbean into a building block, and has now built a whole construction ecosystem with sustainable housing out of what was essentially a climate adversity. And we've got people we've got somebody in the Philippines who's figured out how to hack vending machines to provide 5G access to people that can't afford phones, where they can still get broadband access for like 5 minutes at a time to go onto the web and get access to the opportunities that we all take for granted. Tons of stories like that. We're doing it in partnership with UNDP. So when we talk about open talent, even an organization as sort of established as UNDP, 60 years old, 100,000 people, they're also sort of like re-looking at what innovation means and what invention means. So anyway, there's a platform called For Tomorrow. I'd love everyone here to just visit it over the holidays. I'll repost the thing. And it's really just inviting all of us to think of ourselves as having agency in solving, some of the sustainable challenges that are facing the planet.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Son. Thanks for sharing that.
And put a link in.
Yeah. Make sure you throw a link in, Son. That'd be great. Hey, and is John Healy on the call? Is he
I
around?
saw him. Yep, he's here. He's
Yep,
finding.
I'm here, John.
Yeah. Hey, John. Hey, I was really inspired by our conversation, and your wonderful post. It was such an amazing post that you put up on kind of your past. But I'd just love to give you the floor here. You've had such an instrumental part of this group and forming of it, and high level thoughts of guidance. But I'm certainly so grateful for your participation and your ongoing support, and then also just the kind of your future and all the great stuff you got ahead of you.
Yeah, there's no magic story to offer right now. My story is about taking care of family, first and foremost for the near term. But yeah, I stepped away after almost 28 years.
Oh, wow.
With one organization and a highly entrepreneurial career that gave me access and opportunity that I never would have dreamed of. And I'm just kind of getting stoked for letting the green fog kind of clear out of my head and stepping into the next chapter. So we'll see what that is, but more to come. And it will definitely be connected to the way people connect with work. There's so much that's broken and needs to be fixed in that marketplace. And it's a big part of why this group has been so inspirational to me in so many different ways, and excited to stay a part.
Yeah, thanks, John. No, I really, man, I'm so, always so inspired by our conversations. I always, though, when you and I talk, I'm always in such awe that your knowledge and your depth of experience after 28 years, it's always like, oh, my head just exploded, or a part of my brain just exploded. So, I hope you can kind of share that wisdom with us so we can all get up to speed on all the stuff that's happening.
That's how muscles grow, right? You got to tear the muscle if you want it to grow. We got to hurt ourselves every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so one of the things that to show appreciation that Mark and Chuck and Ashley came up with is an idea that we've had so much great support from this community this year. Those who have contributed research and content and thought leadership on our calls, and then obviously either presented or shared at the global summit, and then participated and steered the 3-day design sprint this summer, which actually led to, you know, the CTW and all the great work from the working groups. And so, you know, one of the things that they came up with, which I just love, is we came up with this badge, and I think Brandon, you can pull that up, to say thank you. We thought we'd just provide a badge called the OA Global Contributor that you can put in your LinkedIn profile. And we'll have some instructions to do that, but just kind of a fun way to do it. Yeah, there it is right there. So thanks to Mark for designing it, he and his team to design it, and, you know, a way to do it in kind of an educational space. Ashley, unfortunately, had some family stuff that she was doing today, and she couldn't join the call, but she created a really great step-by-step process. So for those of you who, you know, have been a part of the community and contributed, it's been really, really great. We really, you know, are grateful for that and thankful, and want to honor that. So you can badge that out in the, you know, out in the universe, because it's important that we're all part of the same cause. Mark or Chuck, do you have anything to add on this?
Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'd just like to say that I'm grateful for mountains and kinship. I've finally, after a year, been able to make it back to my father's house in the north of England, and I got up a mountain yesterday, which is the complete antidote to my life, which some of you know is spent in the mega city of Mumbai. So I've been really, really grateful to be able to get on top of a mountain and clear my head a little bit. And to just kind of reflect on, you know, what's been a pretty crazy year. But one of the highlights has been to meet some fantastic people in the broader group, but also to have the privilege to lead the education work stream and to find some really fantastic co-conspirators, or co-collaborators, perhaps would be a more appropriate way. Chuck and Jeff Davis in particular, Brian as well, all who've kind of contributed to that. So I'm feeling kind of pretty buoyed. I now have to try and find my way back to Mumbai, and I'm hoping I can get back there for Christmas without having to quarantine for 14 days on the way back. But I'll probably see you on the other side. But thank you, John, for the opportunity. It's been great, and I hope to spend more time with more of you next year.
Great.
Thanks, Mark. Chuck?
Oh, otherwise, you know, that's why I have the hat on. We're giving away gifts. That's good. I think it's just fantastic that we're kind of just branding a little bit out there. And not only are we going to be able to sort of give you some credit for all the hard work that everybody is doing, but you'll be able to find each other. I mean, it's a real low-hanging fruit idea just to find each other in a logical kind of way. Reminder that we all have a Slack space as well that you're all welcome to join. And that's another way of having offline discussion and work we're doing. You just have to reach out to myself and I'll add you to the Slack community. But otherwise, yeah, make sure you tag yourself up, and I look forward to seeing you all on LinkedIn. And I hope that a lot of people start asking you, what the heck is this thing? And can we get involved in it? So that's have fun. And thank you for all the hard work and all the great people I met over the year. It's been great.
Yeah, it has been an amazing year for sure. So, hey, one of the things we'll do is, Brandon, do you want to put the instructions out, the Google Doc link out onto the chat, or should we send it to people, or how should we do that?
I'll put it in the link here, and maybe we'll follow up, or in the chat here, and then we'll follow up with maybe an email as well. So this is a document we made on how you can add Open Assembly to your LinkedIn profile, and you just follow this document step by step, and it will show you how to do it. And then the badges, the badge that we just shared on the screen will be available at the bottom of this document, and you can, save that to your drive, and then choose to use it if you'd like to do so.
Awesome. Well, that sounds good. Well, I thought we'd just go into a little bit of housekeeping for 2021. Just talk about the meeting schedules. We're going to change some things around a little bit. As you know, the group started as kind of a private group that was our collective members, and then we decided in April to open it up to everybody. And now we're going to kind of go back to dual, right? We'll have a couple of CTW meetings, and then some, one a month collective partner meetings. So why don't you go ahead and take us through this, Brandon?
Great. Yeah. Thanks, John. So as many of you know, we use these weekly calls, or we used to have these weekly calls with our Open Assembly Collective Partners Group, which was a monthly call, and it consisted of, in 2020, it was all these great partners that you see here on the screen. When the pandemic hit, this group agreed that we could open up the calls to be weekly and open it up to anybody in the community that wanted to be a part of it, which is why you're here today. So, and this more or less paved the way to the creation of the Center for the Transformation of Work. So looking forward to 2021, we're going to continue to have these community calls, and those calls will live under the Center for Transformation of Work banner, and they will happen on the first and third Thursdays of every month. And we believe the start times will be more or less the same unless we have to accommodate a special guest from a unique time zone. And then our Open Assembly collective partners will meet on the second Thursday of every month. So if you're, just so you know, if you're currently on the invite list for these calls that we've been having throughout the year, you'll get added to the list for the Center for Transformation of Work calls that will happen twice a month. And then if anyone's interested in learning more about the Open Assembly Collective Partnership Group, you can just reach out to me directly and I can provide more information to you. And that's it. Oh, you're on mute, John.
Sorry, there were some roosters in the background that started going off, so thought I'd kind of cut off that. All right, well, let's just dive in. I mean, I thought today we just kind of go around the horn and, you know, just whoever has anything, I mean, just maybe reflect a bit on you know, on the year and what's happened and looking forward, or, you know, any feedback on the meeting schedule or anything here. Let's just have an open floor discussion. Steve, you always got something noodle in there in Houston. What do you got? What are you contemplating there?
You know, I was just, when you said reflect, I was just thinking back about this year. I mean, if you think about where we were a year ago compared with now, like the way we have organized the thoughts and where we've connected people and really put structure behind this entire endeavor, it is truly amazing. And some of the conversations that I've had this year have been just fantastic. And so I don't know, it's been great stuff. You can hear my daughter making a smoothie in the background too as I try to talk, because it's 2020 and that's what Zoom's all about. So but this has been great, and this community is amazing.
Thanks, Steve. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, John,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, this is Diana. I'll just jump in and plus one to what Steve just said. I just reflecting back on the past 12 to 18 months. You know, we began this journey really talking about projects and proof points and case studies, and really trying to build a shared knowledge of what works and to what degree it worked. And I think I was anxious to kind of move past that, and those conversations are just so far behind us. We have really advanced and elevated the conversation in this community and in this industry to just really higher order themes and opportunities, right? Talking about the convergence of new work models with learning models, and a really artful articulation of different communities of expertise and purpose and passion into kind of scalable enterprise models. It's just, to me, it's inspiring to think how far we've come in fairly short order, and I can't wait to see what the conversation is like in 12 months. So thanks to everyone for your inspiration and for the contribution to kind of the greater good here.
Thanks, Diane. That's great. I mean, that was a great prompt, Diane. Thanks. You know, because I think as we look forward, right, like what are people seeing? What you know, if we're sitting here next year at the end of the year, what are we going to see that's changed, and how do you guys think it's all going to play out? I'd love to kind of focus the conversation there, because so many people are in have so many different unique points of view of the marketplace and connected with clients, seeing, you know, new clients on board, or people getting nervous about the future as our organizations change in radical ways. So just open up the floor. What do you see in, actually, I'm going to ask Brian Pena, what do you see in, Brian?
Well, first off, I want to thank John and the Open Assembly community for providing such a validating forum. You know, in so many ways, a lot of people who've been working in this new way of working for years and years and years, we've been a little bit like John the Baptist making way for the coming of the Lord, as it were. And I think that now that a lot of the ideas that used to be a little more fringy are becoming more mainstream, it's really exciting. And I think it's exciting to be a part of that change. You know, very few people get the chance to be at the front end of a revolution, and that's what we are at. And the way that we're working and the way that work is going to get done is being fundamentally changed at the cellular level. You know, I used to belong to this think tank based in Sonoma, and one of the participants, we used to say that in the end, you know, the manner in which people will exchange competency for currencies will be very different with every like sort of cycle. And I think that that notion of how we exchange expertise or our intellectual or physical abilities to sustain and support society is really, really exciting. So what do I think? I think that we're going to see further professionalization of the space in terms of how people are managing it. You know, we see the migration of you know, this in terms of the nomenclature in the industry. You know, it's not uncommon to see vice president of extended or non-employee labor. There's a recognition of that managing the extended workforce of the open talent economy is different than traditional disciplines. And I think that the ability to write that playbook and write that discipline as a professional course is exciting. So I'm really excited about the work that this group is doing, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. I think next year we're going to see greater adoption. Plain and simple. I think the recovery is going to look very, very different. And I think that open talent platforms and flexible work platforms are going to have their day in the sun and be realized as an entirely valid mode of employment moving forward. So I think we're just going to see an explosion. We're all going to be way too busy in the coming year, which will be a great problem to have.
Awesome. Exactly. Well,
John, you mind if I give 30 seconds?
Yeah, for sure.
So for those that haven't seen me in a while, I'm Darren. I'm the head of remote at GitLab. So GitLab is a 1,300 person company with no company owned offices anywhere in the world. So this remote thing did not catch us by surprise the way it did much of the world. I think 2021 is going to be a very empowering year. I think the conversation around remote work will be democratized in a big way, and people who have been historically ostracized from the workplace or have not yet seen the light on how they can contribute from wherever they are in the world will now be empowered to do that. And through companies like ours, giving opportunity to where opportunity did not once exist. So I'm encouraged by that. I know there's a lot of fear in the chaos of so much change, but we all have the opportunity to look on the opportunistic side, not the scarcity side of this, and try to make the world better for as many people as we can. We're talking about this in our breakout group, those who have felt the tailwinds of COVID. Like, we feel guilty about it, but we're in a position to offer flexibility to those who may not have had it in the past. So I'm excited about that. GitLab is going to be working on a masterclass and hackathon on how organizations can do this better and how, in fact, we can learn. So if anyone here is interested in being a part of that, find me on LinkedIn. We'd be happy to partner on that. Happy holidays.
Awesome.
Here's to a great 21.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Mike Moore. I'm going to call him Mike Morris because, Mike, you and I have had this conversation forever, and you're one of the OGs, right? You've been doing this since 2001, 2002. So would love for you to reflect for a sec, kind of what you've seen in 2020 and what you see ahead.
About the coolest name I've been called in a long time. I'm an OG. So I think there's going to be a ton of advancement on the freelance. I call it the career path of a freelancer. It's like, I think there's so much disruption happening. I love the fact that GitHub's doing a masterclass and, really teaching people how they can participate in the freelance economy. I think there's a ton of disruption that's happening in the educational environment, right? Is you're realizing that a lot of people just aren't going to go back to campuses, or they realize that they can do it differently. They don't have to go, maybe they don't have to go for 4 years straight. You know, they can learn throughout their entire career. And I think like I'm really anxious to see where these things start coming together, and you get you start to see opportunities for people to build an entire career in the freelancing space, in the gig space, right? From college through, my dad always says, like, hey, you're going to have 3 to 4 chapters of your career, right? It'd be nice to be able to build that over a period of time. Like, here's the educational opportunities you've got, here's the work opportunities you've got. I think there's going to be a ton of advancement in innovation on the services and benefits on the talent side, and that's gonna be the fuel to really put the fire into our scale. So I'm super passionate about seeing that happen, and the companies that step up. I think there'll be a bunch of new innovative companies just around things like benefits, and we have tons of opportunity for online learning. Now, how do you federate those, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm working on something, boom, I'm all of a sudden I'm taking a class on it at the same time, right? That's how my job starts to look. I learn something, I do something. So, I think it's just going up from here, John.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thanks, Mike. No, I really appreciate that. Hey, Chris, you had a really great question in the chat. Why don't you bring that, surface it to the group?
Yeah, I was just curious and kind of the difference between enablers and evangelists. I think everybody here has drunk the Kool-Aid. There's just different intentions on what we expect to do with that kind of early buy-in. So didn't know if we're going to start to bifurcate next year. Should some people lean more into, one group or the other?
Yeah, so I mean, the way that I kind of been describing it, I don't know if you've been on the calls, but it's a rock concert, right? And so the CTW is kind of the audience. Come check it out. You want to be a lurker and sit in the back, that's totally cool. And then OA is really the stage where a lot of the folks are kind of helping create the content and getting that stuff out, and the strategy, the schedule, and all this kind of thing. So we need it to be really, really locked step together. But there's some people that want to be really engaged with the strategy for the industry, and others that are focused on their own business. So we want to be able to create a broad enough community so everybody can be engaged in the way that they want to be engaged.
If we were going to kind of co-create some thought leadership that would be persuasive, would that be more of the Open Assembly's task and some subgroups would be created there, or more for the center of transformation?
I mean, I think we're working through a lot of that. Son and Eric and Alistair have done some amazing work on kind of business model work. And one of the things I really appreciate about their work is not only thinking about the business model for CTW, but also the business model for Open Assembly, because it's important that we do that in a conjunctive way, right? I think right now the task ahead for me, I feel like my largest calling is to come up with the Uber adoption playbook with Kareem and Jen out of the lab, and really build on the great work that Jeff Davis and Steve at NASA have done to really normalize it, to make adoption of open talent really ordinary and boring, knowing that this is just a starting line and not going to be able to encompass everything, but at least get everybody on the same page as far as the terminology. And then, the CTW as a place to bring people in and start the learning journey and be able to create standards around, what needs to happen to communicate those things. So that's how I kind of see it. So, but a great questions, Chris. And, certainly we need your help strategically. So, I'll be calling on you as much as I can, as always. So thanks. Hey, Barry, you and I had this great podcast last week, and I really loved your perspective, because you feels like from the outsourcing world, you've seen this cycle happen before, right? From the kind of the primordial goo of a startup industry, and with a lot of really interesting aspects to it, but not really organized yet, and how kind of the organizational piece really accelerates things. I don't know if you want to share some of the things that we talked about. It was really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think outsourcing, not much has changed for a long time. And now we've got this, this opportunity right now that suddenly everybody was working remotely and all of the outsourcers had to change the way that they did things. Now realizing it doesn't have to be the way it was, and realizing that open talent platforms have a real role to play in the sourcing process. And I think as Mike was just talking about, freelancing becoming a career choice, and I think we're going to see a lot of that. And as a result, the way outsourcers get their resources, typically being full-time at the moment, will move to becoming much more of a variable skills on demand model, and we'll see a completely new way of sourcing. I think outsourcing will be disrupted over the next few years significantly. It'll also lead to really cool ways of innovating, a bit like Zurich do with Topcoder right now, being able to have crowds of curated experts available on demand, which will then disrupt the way they work with traditional outsourcers. So that's super exciting. I think organizations will need a lot of help though to get their heads around it. They need a sort of bit of curation, a bit of hand holding. That's the sort of thing that my company and others are doing. And we're starting to see that becoming more acceptable. It's gonna be really interesting. I have this commoditizing opportunity, which is what I think, the open talent world does, right? Suddenly we're using digital platforms. We can work remotely from anywhere, and people who weren't able to have the opportunity before because they didn't live in the right city are suddenly able to work for the best companies. And I think it's just fantastic. The other thing I wanted to say, John, is just a thank you to the community. I started to get involved in sort of August, September time when I decided to leave my role of managing partner at ISG to set up this new business. And everybody from that very beginning, when I set up the business on October the 1st, has just been welcoming and friendly and helpful. And I found the community such an inspiration. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to all those people that have been incredibly helpful and reached out to me and made me feel welcome and part of the community. So it's a special place. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. That's really, really wonderful. We really appreciate you being part of it for sure. Hey, Eric, you always have a good perspective. I mean, our conversations have been always awesome because you give us that, 30,000 foot economic view. And I think, we're right now globally, right? We're in a really interesting place, with the US election and what the policy is going to be and what the economy is going to be. And what, I'd love for you to reflect for a second going forward on that.
Sure. Yeah. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for what I've learned from you and the inspiration this year. I can't wait for the days ahead, coordinating with you on so many things. So much has already been said. I would say the reason that I focused on Black Swan events as an economist was that they are not as bad as they can be while they're happening, and as difficult the transition period. These kinds of moments have always been the unleashing of tremendous change that has often been bubbling up beneath the surface, and also of the acceleration of trends that preceded them. It also makes you realize how the difference between what we would call something good and something bad in terms of its effects on things in the larger sense is actually much more complex than we think. For example, things that might seem like the opposite of a crisis, winning the lottery, a country striking oil, things like windfalls that seem like the exact opposite of a crisis, statistically often lead to tremendous problems. Likewise, when you look at history, a lot of what we would immediately deem something bad actually led to the unleashing of many important changes for various reasons. And so that's what has always drawn me to the topic of what we'll call Black Swan events, rare high impact events that change the way the world does something, because they make you realize, I don't completely agree with Hamlet that there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so, but it makes you realize he was onto something when he said that, basically. So I would say the best way to honor, all of those that have suffered or that we've lost this year is to ensure that this becomes one of those moments in history to the benefit of so many people in the years ahead. And then one final, on that topic, keep in mind that what makes crises like true Black Swans so difficult sometimes is they often take what we thought was our biggest strength and they turn it against us. In this case, with the pandemic, the physical interconnectivity of the world became a problem for us in terms of allowing the virus to spread. But the other side of that coin is that often the rebirth that comes from crises is from joining what we thought was our biggest weakness or things that we don't have. In this case, the inability to often to do things the way we did before in terms of transit, in terms of mobility, joining that with our strengths. So I would encourage everyone, as you think about your careers and your companies in their post-COVID transformation, don't just think, what are our strengths? And also don't just separately think, what are our weaknesses? Ask yourself, where could the collision of those two or the intersection of those two yield breakthroughs that we hadn't contemplated before? Because it actually has been, and for example, Michael Porter speaks about this in his wonderful book, The Competitive Advantage of Nations. It's often the intersection of the two, what you have and your strengths and what you don't have and your weaknesses, that actually yield the most groundbreaking innovations. On a separate topic, one very quick thing I'd like to mention is when you read these articles, one reason that I'm very confident that adoption, enterprise adoption will continue to accelerate is keep in mind that those companies that have adopted it now and are now announcing, yeah, everyone can work remotely indefinitely or and so forth, other companies need to compete with them in many respects. They need to compete for talent. They need to compete on a cost basis, obviously, and they need to compete in terms of their processes. So it's not just Twitter. It's not just kind of the big headline names that have announced that they're making fundamental and indefinite changes. Now all the companies that need to compete with them in all of those various respects need to take a very serious look at it as well. So I would say that acceleration process is also going to be something that I'm going to be very interested to watch in the coming years in terms of how the competitive dynamics play out in that regard. Sorry, I took more time than
that's awesome,
intended
Eric.
to.
No, always enlightening, man. I always love our conversations, and Brandon was kind enough to put a copy of our podcast up in a link to the podcast. So
thank you so much, Jim. That was really fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Hey, Jerry, I'd love to hear from you, man. You've seen lots of crises in your time doing the work you're doing, and obviously you have a book that's out on that right now. And so, any insight as you look forward on the open talent economy and the future?
Well, I think there's huge opportunities in any crisis. Provide opportunities. So I think this one is no exception. And we tried to capture it actually in the book. But my thought is primarily concerning the Open Assembly and the Center for the Future of Work. And the way to try to encourage and provide kind of, in a sense, something more proactively to try to lead to the change, to create almost like leading toward a movement of open talent that companies will realize they have to start considering it. They have to start changing their mental model concerning work. It's not only hiring people, is for one or both of these groups to start encouraging experimentation and reporting on experimentation, well-controlled experiments with control groups that will show what is the real impact. And then to try to do, and perhaps this can be a project for either of the two organizations, a meta-analysis of all of these, and do it by topics. You know, what is the future of work for innovation, for selling, for legal services? Start thinking about specific domains, because people think in terms of domains. So as opposed to being just the general open talent, start to recording and documenting what do we know about the impact and under what condition is it more effective than less. And if we can do it, I think then we can have a real impact and increase or stimulate and enhance the adoption of open talent in the various areas, because people will learn from this.
Yeah, I love that, Jerry. That's a really good point. I think it's something that, again, I really want to lean into myself this year. It's creating those playbooks, and how do we do that? And then how do we amplify those and, make sure that we're all kind of walking forward together, knowing that, everybody's going to have a different point of view and every company needs a different pathway to adopt these new technologies, kind of coming up with that base lexicon and that base, playbook is a really important thing. I know we're kind of running short on time. Ray, I'm going to call on you. You were the one that inspired us to do the breakouts way back when. and gave us a really good, methodology to do that. And it's been one of the highlights of these calls in this community. I think, one of the things as I reflect on this year, that brought a lot of humanity, I think, to the calls. And it's really one of the superpowers of this group is that we're all connected as human beings. So any reflections on the human side of all this stuff?
Yeah, thanks a lot, John. And it's been a real honor to be part of this group this year. But yeah, I would see in 2021, I would love our conversation a year from now to be talking about how we can actually make it safer for both the people that are in enterprises to integrate people from the open community, and then also the people who are coming in, that it doesn't feel so commodified, that actually we can build very fast, just very fast assembling teams that actually help people to flourish more. And I feel like that would be a real win as we're moving through, and particularly as we kind of build out some sort of playbook to do that and framework to think about that.
I love that. And Diane, you've been really encouraging us to put, the human, be very human centered in everything we've built. So that was great, Ray. Thanks. I really, I think that's a really important thing, right? That idea of creating safety is something that will help, with adoption in such a huge way. So well, I know we're kind of coming up on time. Any last comments? If I didn't get a chance to call on you, I apologize, but feel free to jump in now. And anybody?
Just happy holidays and relax and stay safe. This has been one of the wackiest years in memory. I can't remember anything as crazy as this past year, and it'd be really nice to just take a breath and look forward to it all being behind us.
I love that, Chuck. Yeah, let's all just take a breath and let this kind of wash over us and get behind us. Hey, if you get a chance,
hey, John, just one more I'm going to throw in. You got to say a big shout out to Catherine and to Brandon for keeping us all on track and keeping us going. You guys are the backbone. John's the public face here, but you guys keep us going week in, week out. So thank you very much.
Oh, that's great, John. Yep, that's exactly what I was going to get to. Catherine, Brandon, you guys are amazing. This wouldn't have happened without you guys. And for me, I get put so much energy into making sure that the conversation's going the right way, and being in the moment. And I know I can only do that because everything else is kind of settled and set and organized. And it's been a really amazing year. And to have partners like Brandon and Catherine is just really, really inspiring. So I could be more grateful than that. So well, have a good time and enjoy your time. I hope you get to spend some time with your families. And if you do get a chance, we've still got the Lumascape. We'll be working on it over the holidays. And if you get a chance to lean in and make some comments or anything, we can do. And also just write us if there's any way we can support any of your work. Just let us know. We're always around and happy to jump in any way. But stay safe and happy holidays, as Matt Neal just said. All right. Thanks, guys. Love you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Holidays, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Great. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.